Marley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Saturday, July 31st. So the moon is going to be in Taurus all day. We are building towards the last quarter moon in Taurus, 9:16 a.m., again, Atlantic Standard Time. We have to just remember that the last quarter moon provides us with a point to release. What are we releasing? Well, we've had a lot of information be illuminated to us since the full moon in Aquarius. We've had a lot of emotional realizations, mental aha moments. We have had some good analytical thinking, picking apart our patterns, our behaviors, our self-worth, our values. We figured out what it is we're no longer aligned with and what it is now that we are emotionally charged to pursue. And now we have to take stock to see what it is that is no longer needed, where we can drop the emotional baggage, where it is that we can kind of end that narrative in our head because it is not going to be supporting us in moving forward. We've been illuminated to a lot of the things that we are clutching to from our past situations and scenarios where pain and suffering is concerned. And now we have to ground that energy out. We have to be very present in the moment to discern what is going to help me moving forward and what is going to prevent me from making progress. Lucky for us, the moon in Taurus is a very gentle release. Why? Because we are focused on self-love. We're focused on feeling better. We're focused on providing ourselves with safety and security and comfortability. We really just want to settle into whatever is making us feel like we are grounded, we are centered, we are safe, we are secure. So it is going to be a little bit of a gentle release. However, there are some aspects today that are going to trigger us to make sure that we have a full illumination on what it is that we have to disconnect from, detach from, let go and release before we move into this next cycle. So there's 12 different aspects taking place today. The moon is involved with 9 of them. Right out of the gate, the moon in Taurus is going to square a tension point with Mercury in Leo. So as you know, Mercury rules over the mental plane. It rules over how it is that we take information in, how we formulate a plan, how we express ourselves and communicate our thoughts and feelings outward. Now, this is going to feel a little bit conflicting. Mercury in Leo is very vocal, very proud, very confident, very direct, very fixated on just being blunt and saying things how it is. However, the moon in Taurus doesn't like to speak on things unless it is absolutely worth saying. There is a little bit of an element here where the moon in Taurus would prefer to keep things to themselves, while Mercury in Leo would prefer to speak to anyone but yourself. There is a realization that comes up here where, again, we have to focus on the loops in our inner narrative, where it is, again, that we have to recognize where things are outdated, where things are old, where things are connected to the past that are not going to bode very well for us moving into the future. We want to consider the fact that Tauran energy does not want to change, even if it's in a rut, even if it's uncomfortable. The Tauran energy does not like change at all. And we have to understand that this Leo energy wants to change everything, wants to take a risk, wants to put ourselves out there in a way that change has to happen. So we're having this inner conflict. We want to communicate what it is we're thinking, what it is we're feeling, but just as we go to do so, we recognize that we're only speaking from the old version of ourselves, from outdated beliefs, outdated emotions and thoughts. And again, recognizing, being illuminated to where this looping narrative is preventing us from actually making some serious progress and moving forward. So the moon in Taurus goes ahead and bumps into Neptune retrograde in Pisces. And I'm going to tell you, this is going to open up some wounds. We're going to be super hypersensitive here, especially emotionally. Yes, we're picking up on external energies, the subtle energies of our environment and other people, but mostly we're just afraid because we can feel the change is coming. We can feel the pivotal point where we have to bust free from the old, jump into the new, and we do not want to deal with it. Why? Because the moon in Taurus does not want to deal with it. And this Neptune energy, of course, the great escape artists of the zodiac, they don't want to deal with reality at all. So we have unavailable, detached emotions. We have the emotional state detaching from our mental plane. And realistically, because the moon is in Taurus, we're likely going to throw ourselves into work, into tasks, into chores, anything to keep our physical bodies in a state of, let's call it, a working distraction, so that we don't have to acknowledge our emotions and we don't have to acknowledge our thoughts. Now, this is going to be an inner conflict because we are all up in the feels. We have to be all up in the feels in order for us to realize where it is that we're busting away from the old and we're moving towards the new. And the moon in Taurus squares the sun in Leo, which creates our last quarter moon. That square is a tension point. It's a crisis point. It illuminates for us the inner conflict that we're currently going through. So let's talk about this for the second. The moon is the opposite energy as the sun. The moon is feminine. It is intuition. It is emotional. It is nurturing. It is subconscious and unconscious thinking. It is basically how it is that we transform our emotional state. The sun is masculine energy, fire energy against the moon's water energy. It is about action. It is about our physical form. It is about life force. It is about our energy and how it is that we assert ourselves. Tauran energy is earthy. Leo energy is fire. What happens with earth and fire? Well, if there is a balanced amount of earth and fire, you have a pretty good little campfire going. It's controlled, it's disciplined, it's creating warmth, it's serving its purpose. However, if there's too much earth thrown on that fire, that dirt will suffocate that fire. There will be no spark, there will be no ignition, there will be no heat, there will be no life force. And if there's too much fire, that fire will burn through all of the earth, destroying forests, destroying life that lives in the forest. It's a very dangerous state to be in. So the key here is to balance these energies. The Tauran energy wants to focus on stabilizing our emotions, stabilizing our thoughts, sticking to our physical routines. That Leo energy wants to take a risk, wants to be bold, wants to be courageous, wants to make a change, wants to follow our heart space. The Tauran energy might, although, want to follow our heart space. If it requires too much of a change, we ain't doing it. We'll be very comfortable to set up our tent in this rut and just live here forever because we do not want change. So this is going to highlight our inner conflict. It's going to show us where we need to stay stable and where we want to stay stable, and where it is that we need to take a risk and that we should take a risk. This is going to be very turbulent, emotionally speaking, because again, it is going to illuminate for us where it is that we don't want to change and where it is we know we have to change. So we have this little crisis point. We move past the last quarter moon, and then the moon in Taurus bumps into the true node. The true node wants to remind us on why change is necessary. Why is it necessary? Because we have new dreams. We have new visions that we're trying to manifest, that we're trying to bring to life. So bumping into the true node is a good reminder of everything that we were excited for, that we still are excited for, that we were passionate about, that we should still be passionate about. But of course, the moon in Taurus right now just wants to put blinders on, doesn't want to think about the future at all, just wants to sit in this present moment where it's safe, where it's secure, where it's comfortable, where it's predictable. And that is going to get us absolutely nowhere moving forward with our growth and with our evolution. So what we're being forced to do right now is that we have to rework some things. We have to rework our thoughts, rework our emotions, understand why it is that we feel so freaking scared to change, to move forward, to take a risk, to abandon the stability that we got too comfortable in. The moon goes ahead and squares Saturn in a retrograde in Aquarius. This is, yes, I know anytime that I say Saturn, everybody gasps now like, oh no, tough love life lessons coming at you. Reality check coming at you. And that's exactly what we're going to experience. The moon in Taurus squaring Saturn in a retrograde in Aquarius right now is showing us where it is that negative Nancy, once again, is getting the best of us. Why? Because negative Nancy wants us to stay the same, wants us to stay in that rut, never wants us to change, wants us to sit in the negative narrative of lacking self-worth, of lacking self-love. Recognizing where it is that maybe you picked up from past situations and relationships that you're not worthy of truly being happy. This is really going to trigger some difficult emotions. This is going to make it feel very heavy, very weighted down by life. This is almost going to suffocate us. Why? Because we're scared to death to move forward. We know we have to move forward. Realistically, we know we have to move forward, but the emotional avoidance that takes place while the moon is in Taurus, because we just want to sit in this present moment. We don't want to think about the past. We don't want to think about the future. We just want to think about now. Yes, that's great. But like we discussed in previous forecasts, when you constantly live in the moment, you live the same day over and over and over again. When you live in the present moment, you prevent yourself from dreaming, from visualizing a different reality, a different future. Nothing will change if you live in the present moment. The present moment is merely a coping mechanism, a survival tactic to get through each minute of each day. That is something that we learned out of mere survival. And the whole topic and theme right now, the timeline shift, the contracts that we're moving into is moving out of survival and into thriver mode. We don't want to just survive. We want to thrive. But that is going to require us to boss up, to take control of our emotions, to take control of our thoughts, to recognize where it is that maybe we shouldn't have set up this camp in this rut that we're not happy with. And maybe where we have to push ourselves outside of our comfort zones, outside of our boundaries, to at least contemplate that if we are praying for major change and not willing to do anything about it, then maybe we have to be content with living in the circumstances that we're currently in, which I think is going to dishearten you enough to push yourself in the right direction to make a change. So Mercury in Leo bumps into Neptune. And this is where we have an aha moment. This is where we get enlightened. This is where we connect to our higher selves, and our higher selves says to us, you know what? You've been praying for better. You want better. You deserve better, but yet you're willing to set up camp and stay miserable. What do you want to do? This is going to give us an opportunity because, again, Mercury rules over the mental plane. This is going to provide us an opportunity to get hella confused. Why do we need to be confused? Because confusion leads us to the problem, and the problem provides us with an opportunity to solve it. So Mercury in Leo, which is very big, very grand, very bold, very brave, very courageous at this time, wants to shift the mental plane towards the dream and the vision that we're trying to work towards. But this Neptune energy is kind of spaced out. We're a little bit loopy. We don't really want to sit in the present moment. We do not even want to deal with reality. Again, Neptune in Pisces is the escape artist. There is a high level of confusion that comes just with Neptune energy alone, because it's highlighting for us the lies, the deceptions, the delusions that we've created in order to think that we're at peace, that we're justified in thinking and feeling the way that we currently are. And of course, Mercury in Leo just wants to push us to take a risk, to think bigger, to think broader, to think more confidently. Are we ready to do that? In this moment, Mars in Virgo, again, fresh in this Virgo energy, not happy to be here, but ready to kind of roll up the sleeves and get the hands dirty if it means creating some massive change, bumps into Pluto, retrograde in Capricorn. Pluto is the god of the underworld. He wants to put a certain death to certain narratives, certain cycles, certain behaviors, certain emotions in order for us to take our power back. And this essentially because Mars is the god of war, because Pluto is the god of the shadow world, the underworld. There is a powerhouse energy happening here where we get to suck it up. We get to boss up. We get to take a look at ourselves who's been hiding behind this guise of comfortability, being in a situation that we've made peace with just because we're afraid to push ourselves outside of that comfort zone. This is where we get to push past all of those insecurities, all of those fears, all of those vulnerabilities, all of the blocks, all of the challenges. This is where we get to illuminate that negative narrative and where it is that we need to hold Mars's sword, the god of war, hold that sword high up in the sky and slash through the energetic cords connecting us to our past, to the fears, to the insecurities, to the vulnerabilities, to the excuses, to the lies, to the delusions that we have created in order for us to feel justified in playing small. Okay? This is a powerhouse move. This is where we get to level up. This is where we get to illuminate the pain and turn it into power. This is where we get to look at the darkness, stand in the darkness, and choose to walk towards the light. We have the inner warrior working for us now. We are problem solving each and every moment of this day. We are recognizing that we are the problem where our mental narrative, our actions, and our heart space is concerned. We have the opportunity to cut the cord with that, to stand in the light, to empower ourselves so strong, so great that we will never be comfortable setting up camp in a rut ever again. The moon in Taurus goes ahead and bumps into Jupiter retrograde in Aquarius. And this is where we have this aha moment. This is where the shift takes place, where that Mars and Pluto energy becomes integrated in our heart space, in our mental plane. It is where we see the bigger, better picture. It is where we abandon the fears and insecurities for the brightness of the vision of the dream that we are now working towards. It is where we level up in our optimism, in our confidence, in our self-esteem, in our self-worth, everything that Negative Nancy wanted us to be heavy and weighted under earlier in the day, we are breaking away from. The moon in Taurus trines Venus in Virgo. And this is when we hype ourselves back up. This is earth and earth. This is a stable footing. This is a grounded, centered perspective. This is when we recognize that we have not been honoring ourselves. We have not been valuing ourselves. We have not been putting ourselves in situations that best reflect how it is that we deserve to be treated. This is an emotional shift like no other. Our heart chakras are being activated. Why? Because we're busting the walls down around our comfort zones that we thought we intentionally built in order to protect us, that we now realize have turned into the cell of prison walls. We are done with this. We are taking down the tent that we have set up in this beautiful rut of comfortability, and we are packing up. We are preparing to move on, to make a change, to make a shift. We never want to set up camp in an uncomfortable place ever again, even though it's familiar, even though it's predictable. We deserve better. So in this moment, the sun in Leo sextiles the true node. This is a beautiful blast of energy reminding us that we deserve to be happy. We deserve to be living our dream life. We deserve to be living in the vision of the reality in which we are choosing to manifest. This is going to require us to tap into all the positive lion-like qualities of Leo: confidence, bravery, boldness, tenacity, power. This is when you are reminded that you are the king or queen of the jungle. This is a perfect time for you to let out a roar. Why? Because you are done playing small. You are done creeping through the woods, the trees of the jungle, making sure that nobody knows your presence. Nobody knows that you are the king or queen of the jungle, and not claiming that title. This is where we evolve. This is where we recognize that following our heart is 100% worth the risk. This is where we are being called to enlighten, to elevate, to evolve to our highest self. And of course, our highest self at this point is reverberating at a frequency and a vibration that is aligned with our new dream and our new vision that we are working very hard to actually manifest. The moon at this time bumps into Chiron. Of course, Chiron retrograde in Aries is the wounded healer, illuminating for us, holy shit, you just did a whole hell of a lot of healing that I didn't think you had in you. This is really going to show us where it is that we are done with the fears, done with the insecurities, done with playing small and staying quiet. And in this moment, the moon comes up to, sits next to Uranus. Uranus has been in Taurus for quite some time. Uranus will be joining the retrograde crew here in August. And in this moment, the moon in Taurus sitting next to the great awakener himself is pumping us up and making us recognize that there is a strong mental shift now taking place. We have totally changed the game. We see the parameters, we see the goalposts in a different frame. We are having a breakthrough mentally, and of course, a breakthrough emotionally. We are recognizing where it is that we now need to be freed from some of the confines in which we created, thinking that they were our comfort zone, and now realizing again that they are acting more like prison walls than anything. We crave a freedom, we crave an independence, we crave a new reality. And this Uranian energy is very electric. It sends a lightning bolt through us. It shocks us, it awes us, it disrupts our energetic field so that we can leave the lower vibrations behind and we can elevate to the next level. This is our higher self pulling us up the ladder. Yes, we were hesitant to even get on the ladder earlier in the day, but once we started climbing, we got a little bit of a stage fright looking down, seeing how far off the ground we actually were. We were paralyzed. And now, towards the end of the day, we're recognizing that we have a lot of help. We have a lot of support from above. We see these hands coming down. We see these planetary bodies extending their hands, showing us that we're not alone, that we have support, that we can take it one step at a time, and that the only way to get to the next level is to climb up this freaking ladder. So overall, it's going to be quite a day. We are preparing again for a brand new month. This wraps up July in the most beautiful kind of way with the life lessons that we were meant to learn here in July. This is really amping us up, giving us a new vibration, a new frequency to work with as we jump in to August. I am super excited to be able to bring some insights on what August is going to be. Of course, you should look out for August's energy forecast. I am super excited to tell you that we're going to light some things up here in August. We have a lot of harmony to create. We have a lot of new beginnings taking place. We have timeline jumps. We have portal activations. This is the time we bring our dreams to life. This is going to be the perfect platform, the perfect foundation in order to create a brand new reality.